So again, I'm Dr. Lindsey Campos. I started on March 2nd with the city. 2 weeks later, we were all sent home because of COVID-19. So this has definitely been obviously unprecedented and new for everybody, but what a time to start a new job. So we've got a motto at the EAP, which is that the most valuable asset of the City of Albuquerque is its employees. We want to invest in employee health and well-being because that way we can protect this asset. So just an overview about mental health issues. 1 in 10 people experience depression at some time, and depression is the leading cause of disability globally. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 25 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year, and suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34. I can tell you that these numbers are probably going to go up during the pandemic. A lot of information is coming out now that they are seeing an increase in mental health issues, which is completely to be expected. As the EAP manager, I've seen kind of a consistent uptick in the utilization of the EAP, especially starting in June. So I think people are starting to get really fatigued, and they realize that this is not going to go away very soon. And so I think it's really starting to take a mental toll on people. So just kind of go into your day with that awareness that people are dealing with life issues, but they also are dealing with a pandemic on top of that. And then, all the other issues that are happening in our nation right now. So depression impacts our business. We lose more work because of depression than these other conditions that you see listed here. So like arthritis, asthma, back pain. Depression impacts our business more than those. The economic burden of depression is estimated to be $210.5 billion annually. Nearly half of this is attributed to workplace costs, including absenteeism and reduced productivity. But with treatment, most people can recover from mental health issues. This not only improves their lives, but it also positively impacts retention, productivity, performance, and more. And investing in mental health in the workplace has a 4-to-1 return on investment. So you will save money by encouraging your employees to utilize our services. And that's not the main reason, but it is a very good reason that we want to encourage people to take care of not only their physical health, but their mental health as well. So one of the main reasons that people may not access services is because obviously there is still a stigma associated with mental illness and mental health treatment. Now, I would like to say that I think this is getting better and better, but it's still something that affects people. So it keeps people from seeking help. They may not want to admit that they're depressed or experiencing other mental health issues. They might worry that seeking help will negatively affect their employment status. They might feel ashamed, judged, isolated, or alone. So as leaders, it's very important for us to lead by example. So if you have an employee who you think might need the EAP, have a discussion with them about it. Encourage them to utilize the EAP if they need it. Never ever joke about or make fun of mental illness or substance use issues because you never know what people are dealing with. Educate yourself about mental health issues so that you can respond to them and deal with them appropriately. And if you have any questions about how to help an employee or about mental illness or mental health in general, please call me or stop in and we can talk. Our office is located in the basement of City Hall in Suite B02. Our admin assistant is there Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So what exactly is the EAP? Well, it's counseling services for employees and families free of charge. I think the free of charge part is very important to let our employees know that this is something they don't have to pay for at all. It's absolutely free. We also provide reimbursement for employees and their family members for attending outside counseling services. So what that would look like is if an employee decided to utilize the EAP, he or she would receive a referral if they decided that they wanted extended counseling services. So we have a loose limit of 5 sessions per employee at the city EAP. That sometimes someone only needs 2 sessions. Sometimes someone needs to talk a little bit longer and feels comfortable with our counselors. So we obviously will make exceptions as needed, but as a general rule, it's 5 sessions. But say you wanted to go out to a counselor in the community, all you would need to do, or your employee would need to do, was to have the session with the EAP so we could complete the referral. And once we have that, as long as they save their receipts for any copays, they can bring them in and we will reimburse them for up to 5. Now, this is very important to note. We can only honor this during the fiscal year when it happened. So the fiscal year started July 1st. So anything after July 1st and before June 30th, 2021, we can take care of this year. So if your employees want to utilize this program, please remind them to get their receipts in a relatively timely fashion so that we can take care of that before the fiscal year is over. Obviously, there's a long time before the fiscal year ends now, so that's not necessarily an issue. So employees and their families may access the EAP at any time, no questions asked, and these services are confidential and private. So as counselors, as an independently licensed counselor in the state of New Mexico, and all counselors, we have certain ethical guidelines and laws that we have to abide by. And one of those is a duty to report. So if someone says that they're suicidal or feeling violent, like doing something violent towards other people, or if we hear about child abuse or something, we do need to report that to the proper authorities. I'm going to tell you this doesn't really happen very often, but I think it's important for people to know that there are some limits to confidentiality, and they are all related to safety issues. So we have other services that we provide, not just EAP. We have a health and wellness coordinator. His name is Dave Pulliam. Some of you may be familiar with him. He does the fitness assessments. He manages the APD gym. So if anybody wants to utilize the APD gym and hasn't had a fitness assessment, you would just need to reach out to Dave and he can do that. And then you can utilize the APD gym free of charge. He also does ergonomic assessments. He currently isn't doing this because most people are working from home right now, or a lot of people are, but I think we're working on a plan to figure out how he might be able to help people make their work from home situations a little bit more ergonomically sound. So more to come on that. He is also still doing all of the CPR, AED, and first aid training, and he provides health education classes. So he did one a couple weeks ago on bloodborne pathogens for the child development department. One thing that I can do would be workshops, and we can do workshops about team building, conflict resolution, stress management, and more. There are times when a department might lose an employee for various reasons, people get in accidents and whatnot, that brings up a lot of grief. We spend a lot of time with our coworkers, we get to know them, and when something like that happens, it can be traumatic and emotionally intense. So another thing that we do is if some type of a crisis like that arises, we can do what is called critical incident stress debriefing. We contract with the solutions group for part of for our EAP counselors, but they do a couple of other services for us, and that is one of them. So they are very well trained in the critical incident stress debriefing. So that's something also to keep in mind, that this is a resource in case something tragic or unexpected or traumatic happens. We can be available to kind of provide a debriefing session for you and your employees. And we can also be available afterward to set people up with additional support if they need it. All right, here's my lovely staff. So we've got Safa. She is our senior office assistant. So if you call the main number, you will reach her. We talked about Dave, our health and wellness coordinator. And then we have 2 counselors who are both contracted through the solutions group, and that is Michelle Heyman and Paul Grabowski. Both of them have been doing this for several years. They're very good at what they do. They seem to help a lot of people, so I'm really, really happy with them. So here are some things to just kind of think about. Are your employees even aware of the EAP and the services we offer? And if so, do they have a negative or positive feeling about it? I know in some departments, especially like with first responders, sometimes there can be kind of a worry that They might, if they seek counseling, it could affect their employment status. And it doesn't just happen with first responders, it happens anywhere. But that's kind of a thing that I would like to change about just counseling in general and the EAP is that it's not punitive. We're here to help. We're here to make your life better. We're here to make your job easier if we can. So, as leaders, I think it's really important, again, to encourage our staff to utilize all of the wonderful resources that we do have at the city, like Tom was talking about. There are so many opportunities to improve our wellness, to improve our mental health, to get more of an education. And I just think it's a huge perk about working at the city. So it's important to let our employees know everything that's available to them. Being aware, again, so educating ourselves about mental health and some of the symptomology generally, and then just kind of, keeping an eye on our employees. And is there anybody who's going through a hard time? Maybe someone lost a parent, or maybe somebody's spouse lost their job, or maybe someone's just experiencing a great deal of anxiety because we're trying to survive through a pandemic. Any of those issues we can address, and we would be happy to set up an appointment for anybody. I do want to say that we're doing only online and telephone counseling right now. So our counselors are working from home, but we have secure meetings through Zoom that we can set up, and we can also do telephone, whatever the employee's preference is. We also have a secure documentation system that's completely separate from everything else at the city. There are only 4 people who have access to it, and that is me, the 2 counselors, and Safa. And then each of the counselors only has access to his or her caseload. So I'm the only person in the entire department who can see all of the files. So everything else is completely confidential unless that person is assigned to a particular therapist who will be able to see that. Another thing is that I can do the team building, the conflict resolution, the stress management. There's a plethora of resources available through the solutions group, through wellness ambassadors, which aren't associated with the EAP, but I work with them, to kind of promote what they do and vice versa. So we also have a web page. If you go to eWeb and you click the second thing down under employee self-serve, it says Employee Assistance Program. And there are links to newsletters. There's a link to the Solutions Group free recorded webinars, which there's a huge library of webinars that have been recorded on various topics that are free. So I encourage you to utilize those and to encourage your staff to utilize those as well. So the last thing here is there might be something I haven't touched on, but there might be other issues that we can assist your department with.